Today, we'll be meeting people who've taken delusion to a new level. These are people blinded by their own insanity, listening to the voices inside their heads rather than the evidence going into their ears. And we'll see that this can affect people when it comes to politics, gender ideology for a fucking change, even national identity. So let's kick off with a man who, in my opinion, YouTube, listen, in my opinion, I'm not stating it as fact, a man who is the creepiest bastard on the internet. Here is Jeffrey Marsh discussing an aspect of the upcoming US elections.
Should you cut off contact with family members just because they are voting for Donald Trump? Yes. If so far they have not been able or willing to listen to compassion, to listen to kindness, to listen to you, or even to do their own research and discover that hatred's not the answer, that love and kindness is the answer, if they are unwilling to change, they must experience consequences. And you should not withhold those consequences from them. The consequence in this case would be they don't get your beautiful, loving, wonderful presence in their lives. It's over. And they are gone.
I think the most delusional thing about Jeffrey Marsh is he remains blissfully unaware that any of us who have even a tenuous grasp on reality can look at any of his videos and think he's a wrong'un. He is a proper fucking wrong'un. In my opinion, again, I would not trust that man to be left alone with children. And now he's saying that if family members have a different political standpoint, break off all contact. That's his usual trick, encouraging children, in particular young children, to break off contact with their families and he will be their family. What's it called when someone takes care of a horse? Grooming. Anyway, Jeff also, I don't think he's really trans. He's just a cross-dressing weirdo. Next up, let's stay with the upcoming election over in the New World.
Voting for Kamala Harris.
I don't want to lose my rights. I'm a trans man and I'm gay and I have been pregnant and I've had an abortion before and I don't want to lose that. I'm afraid of not being able to be myself anymore because from what I've heard, Trump's America doesn't want me to look like this. So that's why I'm here today and that's why I'm voting blue.
What about you?
I've also been pregnant and had an abortion before. I was a minor and it would have been dangerous for me to it would have been dangerous for me to carry a baby with personal reasons and everything. I also I'm very, alternative, and I feel like if Trump were to win, I wouldn't be able to express myself through my looks and everything, and wouldn't be able to have the piercings or the dyed hair or the tattoos that I want. I would be able to be myself, and my dad's very pro-Trump, and I'm just very
Pro-Kamala.
Pro-Kamala, yeah. I don't, it's just...
Does that cause a divide at all?
Yeah, it definitely does. He thinks that Kamala's going to ruin the country, but I think that Trump would do worse, a lot. Kamala is going to be good for the country.
Not that long ago, I would have looked at those two young women and assumed they were goths who'd just taken it a bit far. But the one with the glasses, she's clearly mad. I'm a trans man and I'm gay. What does that mean? Now, she said she's been pregnant, so clearly she's taken a couple of direct hits from a gentleman's love cannon. So if she's a woman who identifies as a man who goes out with men, that's just heterosexual with extra steps. Or maybe she's now a lesbian. I'm so confused. So I'm pro-choice. Also, despite modern thinking, I believe only women can get pregnant. Yet I am against abortion when it's being used in place of contraception. So the other young woman, the one with the disturbingly long fingernails, she got pregnant as a minor, so there are questions to be asked there. We have an age of consent for a reason. But they're both worried they won't be able to exist if Trump becomes president. Are they not aware he's already been president? And at that time, all the things that should be in the circus weren't rounded up and killed. To me, this is starting to sound like the trans genocide argument from last year. If you don't recall it, the trans genocide is the only genocide in history where all the people being murdered are alive and well to tell us about it. Anyway, let's stick with the trans thing.
little trans girl, small and cute. These are my pigtails, yes, they're real. When I get all steamed up, I can pout. That tip me over part sounds kind of inappropriate though. So I'm going to stop the song there and keep it kid-friendly for all my young followers out there. Stay proud, stay beautiful, and stay kind. Bye.
Just how mad is that man? He doesn't appear to possess a mirror, which is odd given that he's sitting in a car, so there should be 3 of them. He says he's small and cute. Well, judging by how close his head is to the headlining, I'm guessing he's about 6 feet tall. He's also mixed up the word cute with nightmare fuel. Any child sees that thing coming at them on the street isn't sleeping for months. And just like Jeffrey, he appears to have a slightly questionable interest in young children. But he's got his pigtails and they're real. Pigtails, that's a haircut associated with very young girls and some people on the continent. So it's a shame he's ruined the overall effect by apparently applying his makeup with a tar brush after he's drank 10 pints of lager and then applied it whilst on a roller coaster in the dark. Next up, let's see some fashion. For anyone watching outside of the UK or Ireland, Primark, or Primark as it's called on the Emerald Isle, is a chain of department stores selling clothing and homeware. But if you buy your clothes from Primark, that's one step up from shoplifting. Yet big names like Rita Ora are launching their clothing lines through that department store. But I don't think that creepy man in his mid-50s is the target demographic. And the way he's wearing those clothes, to me, looks like he's trying to come across as a sort of anime schoolgirl character, something which to me screams nonce. It's almost like there's a pattern emerging here. Another thing with Primark is many of their sales staff are Muslim women, and I find that curious. Why in a clothes shop do you have so many women dressed head to toe in black? Which customers are coming in for that? But on being dressed in that fashion,
I'm looking for a man who's at least 6'1". Brown eyes, big nose, thick curly hair, hairy, just like furry, just like a carpet on his chest. Not a Zionist. From a Baba culture. Muslim or open to converting.
I don't fancy his chances of finding a man to date him. But that man has got to be 6'1", and it's times like that I'm grateful that I'm 5'11", assuming that guy is still alive. And they can't be a Zionist, so it's nice to see the Religion of Peace putting in a bit of open racism. On recording a short video, I'll have to remember to hate the Jews. Maybe he's hoping by doing that he won't get thrown off a tall building if his dad hasn't already set fire to him. But if he identifies as a Muslim woman, let's have a look at some of the competition. This lady is in the beautiful, historic Italian capital, Rome.
Scusa signora, scusa.
Scusa. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. I'm guessing maybe she's standing on a mains cable. Next up, we have... It's one clip, but I have seen dozens of these in the past 6 months or so. A rewriting of history, or at least an attempt to rewrite history, claiming that Africa invented everything. But of course, if we remove ancient Egypt and 20th century South Africa, that just isn't the case. The delusion is strong with these gentlemen.
Has built the world throughout the ages. Africa built Europe. Africa built America. Africa built Australia. Africa is building China. All the resources. You go to Europe today and you see the gold, the copper, the electricity, everything. It is from Africa. And that is why they came here and enslaved us. That is why they came here and took our minerals. That is why they are still coming here. Because Africa is the continent that has fed the world. When we talk about the mother continent, we are not simply talking about the mother continent to the extent that she feeds our own children, but she feeds the world.
And the world knows that.
And the world knows that. That's why she cannot be allowed to be free. And that is why she must wake up. And she can only wake up when her sons and daughters wake up. And we are not saying that when she wakes up, she's not going to feed the world. She will. But she will do so on her own terms and with dignity. But throughout history, Africans have been dehumanized, have been humiliated. And that...
The myth that the Africans invented everything, that foreigners came and took those inventions, in particular white devils like myself. But the Africans who were left there, they couldn't remember how to invent the same things. Now, unless that guy is broadcasting from fucking Wakanda, we all know it's not true. And the whole slave thing, oh, they enslaved us. Again, that isn't true. The transatlantic slave trade was perpetuated by Africans selling other Africans. That doesn't make the slave trade right. It was fucking terrible. But it wasn't something the Europeans did. This myth that there are a load of white European men running around the savannah with oversized butterfly nets to catch tribesmen, it just isn't true. Nor is it true that Africa built Europe. Yes, Africa has many, many resources, but I live in England. Most of the castles here, they were knocked up by the Normans. The Great Wall of China was not made by a group of Nigerian brickies. And as for feeding the world, anyone else old enough to remember Live Aid? What continent was it we were sending all that aid to and have continued to? For decades, the Western world has sent trillions in aid to Africa, both financial aid and food aid. And what have we got in return? Refugees who've got AIDS. Now, maybe I'm being too harsh. After all, I now have a short clip of an African helicopter. I don't think Eurocopter or Sikorsky need to be overly worried about the new competition. Clearly, the only thing that gentleman's going to do is kill himself and several onlookers. Because, sorry to be rude here, but when you have a part of the world where many of the people still live in mud huts and shanty towns, that is not the cutting edge of technology. Yet those two gentlemen talking, they must believe it. All of the people we've seen must believe it. I think the reason they do it is it allows them to ignore their own shortcomings. Everything is someone else's fault. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please leave a comment as well. That really helps the algorithm. And as ever, thanks for watching. I think the main delusion with Jeffrey Marsh is he seems blissfully unaware that we can all look at him and go, that man... Nah, fuck it. Just to be clear, I am pro-choice, or I'm generally pro-choice. I still think there should be some sort of IQ test. When a lady gets pregnant, maybe get her GCSE results and go, no, you're a bit thick, we're ending your line now. Just how mad is that man? Does he honestly think he looks in any way vaguely feminine? Because, let's be blunt, if I shaved this off, I'd be more of a girly girl than Harley Quinn who's been in a fucking car accident. Primark, or Primark as it's called in Ireland, it's a department store selling very, very cheap clothing. In fact, if you go into Primark, have a look at where the garment was made and you can work out which 6-year-old child sewed it together. Jeffrey, get yourself a job there, mate. That Africa invented everything, then somehow, after white devils like myself stole it, they didn't know how to reinvent the same thing. And I have to say, where I live now, I am shocked by the amount of doctors and engineers and architects who turn up on the small boats and get put up in fucking hotels. Just before I go, I do keep debating as to whether or not I should do a video on illegal immigration, but I'm fairly certain that will get me kicked off the platform.